language. And Tirukkural nowadays is available in the Polish translation. And once again, that was done directly from the Tamil language. Well, as we have the chair of the Bengali language, so all the Tagore's works, which are collective works, which were published last year, all of them, so the work was done in the chair of the Bengali language at Warsaw University. And I'd like to emphasize the fact once again, that was a direct translation from the Bengali language. And of course, as there are at least 4 chairs of the Hindi language, so even Premchand's books are nowadays available in the Polish translation. That is possible. I remember when I, for the first time, read, Thakur Ka Kuan, so it struck me, how perfectly it was translated. Or even Usha's Prayamvada's, very inspiring works. So the same is also being done with our literature. And I've got, several examples right here. Can you imagine? Well, so that's Wisława Szymborska's, our Nobel Prize winner, and that's the translation. And this book is available in the original Polish version and then in the Hindi translation, Koishi Shaknahim. Then we've got Zbigniew Herbert, also the same, and in 2 languages. That's the bilingual version of the book. Well, as I understand, it's really a big challenge because you can have the original version right here, but sometimes one translator is not enough. You need 2. You need a person who can speak both languages, and you need a real poet who may contribute to the final version of, the translation. So that's a real challenge. And I understand only just using that concept, that methodology, you may become very much successful. And, please remember, Indian books or Indian literature has been present in our minds, and of course Indian writers has been present in Poland, participating in, for example, Joseph Conrad Festival. And definitely, so their words are heard, are listened to very carefully by Polish audience. And in the terms of business, definitely Polish market is quite inspiring. We estimate that the value of the Polish book market last year totaled 658 million euro in wholesale prices. So at which publishers sell books to the distributors. And may I remind you that Poland is among 7 biggest countries in the European Union with study potential to grow. And that has been mentioned in one of the recent bestsellers, In India Breakout Nations by Ruchir Sharma. I have already mentioned several translations of the Indian literature, so let me also add, Maitreyi Devi, Ashok Vajpayee, or Suketu Mehta, because nowadays, of course, their books are available in the Polish language. And the total of all these translated books accounted more than 1/3, than 1/4, around 27% of the book market last year, which is really something, And then, of course, Poland is the 7th most awarded country with Nobel Prize for literature, and we are very proud to have really outstanding poets, and Wisława Szymborska, she's one of them, Czesław Miłosz, and of course also Zbigniew Herbert, and all of these books nowadays are available in the Hindi translation. That would be my dream also, to see the books in the Tamil or Bengali or Malayalam translations, but that could be a very ambitious project that once we'll have to implement with your assistance. Also, next year we are planning to bring the Polish School of Reportage, that is well known in the world, especially the name of Ryszard Kapuściński is quite well recognized. as all of his books have been translated into more than 40 languages. Then we are also planning to bring Mr. Wojciech Jagielski, Olga Tokarczuk, Andrzej Stasiuk. And we hope that how we see the world, how we describe the world from our own perspective, that would be extremely inspiring for an Indian reader. Well, some figures as well, because without figures maybe you cannot understand the value of the market and the dimension of any country's literature, which is quite important. So the Polish authors, Polish writers whose books have been translated into the highest number of languages, these are Tadeusz Różewicz, which is a bit surprising because all his books have been translated into almost 50 languages. Then Czesław Miłosz, a Nobel Prize winner, 44. Wisława Szymborska, also a Nobel Prize winner, 43. Stanisław Lem, 42. And definitely, I suppose that we will walk from two different sides. We can have two different perspectives, but at one point of time, we shall identify the meeting point where we can understand each other much better. You know, as I promised, you know, kuch na kuch to apte dilse batana chai, and that's dilse. When I came to India for the first time, 25 years ago as a student, and that's a story I usually tell the audience. I wanted to understand what the real India is. Of course, that's almost impossible to tell what the real India is. But I remember when I met a guru and we had a discussion on, ज्ञानी कौन है? आजकल तो ज्ञानी कौन है? मैं एक विद्यार्थी हूँ, इसलिए तो मैं ये समझना चाहता हूँ कि ज्ञानी कौन है? और ये जवाब मिला कि ज्ञानी ये है जो संसार का त्याग करता है. लेकिन आजकल संसार का त्याग तो कौन करता है? आप तो मुझे बताइए. That's the point. So that's the point. So maybe we need that redefinition of this jnani, and that may happen right here. Because we've got plenty of jnanis. Who is the writer? वो तो ज्ञानी है. वो तो ज्ञानी है. वो हमारे संसार अच्छे तरीके से समझा देता है, ताकि कि हम शायद अपने आप को समझ सकें. So that's the point. And of course, I'm very much full of hopes and full of optimism that will bring literary jnanis that will help us, all of us, to understand the world in a much better way. All the best. Thank you very much. And maybe just the last thing, we are talking about literature, but definitely these are the books which deals with politics, Rajniti, in the Polish translation. And can you imagine our students of Hindi language, they've got the grammar, Vyakaran, right here in the Polish edition. So that's very much important. And one more thing, Mr. Michał Malinowski, who was running the workshops for Indian children, which are based on the book King Mat, but Janusz Korczak, and that's the literature in action as well. Because maybe we cannot understand the world, or we cannot understand how literature can be translated into something very practical without seeing the workshop. So I'm very glad that literature has so many dimensions. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Indeed, it is a very good speech with mixing with fluent Hindi with correct form. So I appreciate your interest in one of the Indian languages. Even we people from South can't have the kind of accent what you speak. So one thing I missed out before His Excellency speaking, my dear friend Max Claudette to be called, but I missed. I am not an announcer, but because of the time constraint. So now I would like to invite Mr. Max Claudette, the Cultural Council of Embassy of France, to have few words, his experience with New Delhi World Book Fair. After that, we will put to an end this function. After that, tea would be there. Please, Max, louder.
Thank you, Mr. Sikandar, no problem. And I think after the brilliant Mr. Chairman, Mrs. Men, Mr. Ambassador, after such a brilliant speech, it's very difficult for me to say a few words and to say a few words on Hindi or on Polish language, but I only can say I guess you have made a good choice with Poland at the next country of honor for the Daily Book Fair, because you see you have an ambassador of Poland who is very keen on India. Everyone knows it in Delhi, but very keen on literature and very interesting in strengthening the ties between India and Poland. It's very important for us as a part of the European Union to be present to Poland next year. I don't know if the audience knows it, but Poland and France are very, very close countries since centuries. And especially culturally, not only political, but culturally, we are very, very close, because we have sometimes the same enemies, but not only this. But we are very, very close, very close. We share the same religion, we share a lot in the last centuries, sometimes the same kings, and it's very important for me to underline that. And we are very close in the French embassy in Delhi from the Polish embassy. So it's a pleasure to give to you this honor to be the guest of honor at the Daily Book Fair. A few words about our experience. Thank you very much. I think the first thing I have to say is to thank very, very deeply you, the Delhi, the National Book Trust, and you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Sikandar. We have worked a lot on it, of this renewal of country guest of honor after several years. Thank you for choosing France. Thank you for your support during the last year of preparation. And thank you, Mr. Menon, as a co-organizer, to have given us the possibility to be there. It was a good journey, a wonderful journey, with literature, through literature, with editors, with authors. We have been able to bring to India. I think Mr. Ambassador said, right, it's not only the exchange for selling books. We are not there only for selling books. Sure, at the end, we wish to sell books because it's a way to spread out the French literature in French language, but not only in a translation, and we know it in translation, not only in English. And I must say, I wish it's in the real Indian languages, in the languages we all know, in Hindi, Bengali, Malayalam, Kannada, Marathi. It's very important for us to bring the French literature in these languages. We are doing it already. We have a lot of translation done in Indian languages. We know it's very important because more and more Indian people are able to read. It's a big success for your country, and we are very, very pleased to hear that a lot of people, and it's totally crowded at the fair this afternoon, Indian people are now going to these cultural goods, to the books. It's very important to bring them to their languages. It's very important for us to show our literature in Indian languages. So it's very important. And it's important to underline that our editors, 40 this year, 40 French editors were at the fair, and there are big efforts to bring some books to India and to take Indian books to France, because the key is really the exchanges. We wish at the French embassy in India, it's probably not our job, but anyway, we want to make it better known, to make Indian literature better known in France, because it's a way to understand each other better, and literature, fiction and also non-fiction, but I'm speaking about fiction. Fiction is a way to show the reality another way. It's very important for us. It's difficult for European people to understand India. I cannot say another thing. It's sometimes very difficult. Through literature, it's the best way because it's a way with fantasy, with history, with a lot of novels to make this country better known in Europe, and it's our job everywhere, every day to bring you closer to each other. And also, I'm very pleased to say that our authors this year, the authors we brought to the Daily Book Fair, were very successful. They are so happy. I know from Taha Bejelun. Taha Bejelun called me 2 days ago, and he was so happy to have been in India. And from Kenise Murad. Kenise Murad, it's one of the best bridge between France and India. And with the success of her book about Lucknow and about the mutiny, it's a way in France to show the French audience it was a fight for independence in India during decades and decades. And it's a way in India to rediscover some heroes of the mutiny. And I'm very glad that a French lady with some Indian roots, but anyway, a French lady was bringing this history to India again. So very, very much thank to all of you for having given to the French embassy, to France, this chance to be the guest of honor of the Daily Book Fair. It was a beautiful experience. Thank you very much. And I think it's only the beginning. When you are the guest country of honor at a fair, it's the beginning. We know we will have a lot of meetings during next fairs in Paris, in Frankfurt. I know our professional will meet, and I know our authors will come to India. It's a work of the French embassy in India to bring more and more French authors to India, and we will do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Max. Before I call Mr. B.L. Meena, the OSD of IDPO, for giving vote of thanks, I want to announce the dates for the New Delhi World Book Fair. The New Delhi World Book Fair 2014 will be held from 15th February to 23rd February 2014. I would request Mr. Meena to deliver the vote of thanks. And we worked as a team a lot, with a lot of pressure. We worked in many sittings, and I want to also thank Mr. Meena for his best efforts to make it the fair success. Please.
Respected Chairperson and Managing Director, ITPO, His Excellency Pyotr Rodexy, Ambassador of Polland, respected Chairperson, NBT, Mr. Max, Counselor from Embassy of France, publishers, writers, authors, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen. NBT, its own started in 1972, this fair, with 7,000 square meters of area and 200 publishers. In its 21st edition,